So, Helen, where were you born and when?
That would take more than 20 minutes because I come from a place that changed hands every time someone decided to give this country away. My background is Hungarian, but I was born in Czechoslovakia and I didn't have to move. I was actually born in the same house that my mother was born in. So it was my grandparents' home.
What was the name of the town?
The name was Munkac.
Okay. And what year?
In Czech it was Mukačevo.
Okay. What year were you born?
In 1928.
Okay.
And our next door neighbor was actually a Hungarian judge. And they moved there because they went, his wife and my mother were friends from school. They went to school together. And I had very good friends. They had children there. And one day I was told that she cannot be my friend anymore. And one day someone walked in our home and said, "This is not your home anymore. This is not your city anymore. This is not your country anymore." And my grandfather, who was a sergeant in the First War in the Hungarian army, said, "This must be a mistake. We have always been proud, dedicated Hungarian Jews." And they said, "You are the one who made a mistake, because there is no such thing as a Hungarian Jew." And from now on, in the whole city, where we had doctors and lawyers and businessmen and poor people, everyone became the same, and we all had to wear a yellow star. There is one thing about the Nazis: they did not discriminate. A Jew could be a scientist or a beggar on the street. They were all the same. We ended up 4 days and 4 nights in a train that was closed, running very fast, and if someone died there, their body was never removed, and if someone had to give birth there because Mother Nature has her own agenda, it happened right there between all the people. And finally, when the train stopped and we were just pouring out of that train, all I could see is barbed wire for miles and miles, and men and women were separated. And 1 minute I was together with the women of my family, and the next one I found myself alone in middle of Auschwitz.
How old were you?
I was 15 years old. People ask me, how could you survive Auschwitz? And I always tell them, because we were just concentrated on surviving. Women were sitting in front of the barracks that had close to 1,000 people and exchanged recipes while they were starving. Because these recipes they used for children and husbands, they did it with love, and it nourished their soul. After Auschwitz, I was in Stutthof, and I was liberated on a death march in a barn. And we were just closed in, and without food and without water, we were lying there. They were close to 600 people when we walked in. It was a huge barn. 30 of them survived.
When were you liberated, and by whom? By which army?
I was liberated, as far as I know, because I wasn't conscious anymore, by the Russians, probably in April 1944. I was the only survivor from my family. I had an aunt in Detroit, and now, because the United States government decided that they won't have to support me because I have a husband, we moved to Detroit.
When did you move to Detroit? When did you arrive there?
In 1952.
Okay.
And my husband got killed when I had a son who was 5 years old. I couldn't stay in Detroit very long because I was in too much pain because of the weather, and I moved with my son to Phoenix.
Because of the weather?
Because of the weather.
Did you know anyone here?
I had a cousin 3-4 times removed. And I actually started a business in Metro Center.
What was the business?
It was a drapery store inside the mall.
What was the name of your store?
Drapes by Star.
Drapes by Star?
I was the star.
You were the star? And how long did you have that store?
For 13 years.
Okay.
And it was a wonderfully busy store because it was on the west side, it was inside Metro Center, and that time west side was growing. Mm-hmm. I also was a docent in Temple Beth Israel. I was never a member, I was a member at Bethel, but Sylvia Platkin assured me that I am the only survivor in her group. I grew up in a secular world, and I didn't know that much about Judaism, but I learned a lot, and I was bat mitzvah here in this synagogue.
Here? When? How old were you?
We don't talk about that.
Okay, what year?
Rabbi Sherwin taught us to become bat and bar mitzvah.
How did that feel?
It felt that now when I open the Torah, it isn't the Torah, it's my Torah.
Helen, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to me.